First item on the agenda is getting an update on block level access list devnets. Stefan, you have the floor. Do you want to give us an update?
Yeah, sure. So Devnet 1 was working pretty well. We got syncing fixed in most clients, which is really nice. And we managed to run stable with EVM fuzzing and Uniswap trades as the workload. The only thing we couldn't get done was the benchmarking part with parallel IO and parallel execution. So that will be moved to Devnet 2. And in general, now we have to decide what we want to put into Devnet 2 and what we want to push for Devnet 3. I think that is a quick summary.
Awesome. Yeah, we have finalizing Devnet 2 scope a bit later in this. Actually, we can already continue with that. Okay, let's just continue with Devnet 2 scope then. Was there? I see Spencer has this comment in the issue. Do we want to just go through the comment and solve all of the questions? EIP 7843. So the question is, do we push this to Devnet 3 or keep it on Devnet 2? This requires CL changes, and there's 2 open PRs linked over there. Who has the most context on this? Okay, looking at it, it mostly looks like engine API changes. Stefan, do you have an idea how many CLs are ready with block level access list to begin with?
So the only CL we've been using is Lodestar, because
Okay.
there is some inconsistency between Prism and Lodestar that we haven't been able to figure out. And Lodestar has already merged a PR for this change. It hasn't been tested, but it seemed to be pretty small. I can share it in the chat in a second. But I would
Okay.
generally prefer to keep it in unless there is a reason not to. I don't think it's that much of a change.
Yeah, it doesn't look too big. Yeah, Barnabas?
Yeah, so I reached out to Pawan last weekend, and he said that he will have a Devnet 2 ready branch for Lighthouse either today or tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. So since this is mostly an engine API change and Lodestar already has it, let's keep it in. And if there's any opposition, then let's take it out later. But for now, let's keep it in. Sounds good?
Yep.
Okay. Next item is EIP 8024. This is switch encoding to push postfix. I'm posting the link here. Has anyone already reviewed this PR? Will this be a big change? It looks like it's a EL change, so do any of the ELs have a preference? How many do we have? Any of the EL devs here? Yeah, Fabio, do you maybe want to speak for Bezu or Lukash for Nethermind?
Sorry, what's the question?
So the question is, there's a change to EIP 8024, and we want to know if this should be included into Devnet 2 or if we should delay it to Devnet 3. I don't see any. Okay. I also see a comment on the PR itself that says probably not going with this change. So, okay, maybe we just deny this change for now. And if it needs to go in, we can bring it up on ACD. Okay. The next order of business is EIP 7778. confirm alignment on specs, and this is from Tony. So you have the floor, Tony.
Yeah, I brought up this topic on the execution dev Discord. I will post the link to the message into the chat. And I wanted to clarify if we want to use the gas used pre-refunds or gas used after refunds for accounting the cumulative gas used in the receipts. And Andrew brought up last time on ACD that Aragon prefers to use the gas used before the refunds, which means that the block gas accounting will be consistent with the gas accounting in the receipt. And I quickly talked with Felix from Geth, and he was also saying that this might be the cleanest solution to do. The thing is, this might also mean that we might want to introduce a new field to the receipt, basically the gas spent. So this would be the gas used by the transaction pre-refund. Post-refund. So this could be used to populate the field gas used in the ETH get transaction receipt. And now I'm wondering if other clients have an opinion on that. This is the way how it's currently spec'd. So in the specs, we recently changed it to having this new field in the receipt because, as I said, this might be needed because gas used now has different meanings depending on do we use it for block gas limit enforcement or do we use it to communicate that info to the user. So I'm wondering if anyone has an opinion on that or if anyone is opposed to doing it that way.
Yeah, Ben?
Yeah, so I think the cumulative gas used needs to be the amount used by the block, not the amount. So pre-refund. But I do also think in line with ETH transfers emitter log, we will need that extra field saying how much was actually spent in gas for the transaction. So post-refund. And we could replace like logs bloom with it if we want, rather than adding a new field.
So you'd be in favor of keeping it in the same format as it is right now, right?
The one proposed by as the change, yes. But I think we need a change to the receipts so that if you're trying to use the available data to track how much an account's balance has changed, then we need to include the post-refund. You know, how much did the account spend?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
exactly. This is how it's spec'd right now.
Yeah, because we can't work out the we can't do the JSON RPC otherwise. Or
exactly.
It also undermines ETH transfers emitter log if we don't have how much the account spent.
Right. Is there also someone from Beso and from RAF? Because then it would be great if we get an opinion from all the clients on this. Also, if Gev has an official opinion, it'd be great to have that clarified today.
Yeah, I see Daniel from Geth. Do you want to speak up?
I can speak for Beso. We have not really looked into the PR, so it seems I think we are fine with whatever is proposed. I really don't have much details at the moment, but neither proposal seems to be a big problem for us, at least from the implementation side.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think it will still keep the scope quite limited. The only thing is that clients have been using cumulative gas to determine what is the gas used of a transaction when it comes to ETH get transaction receipt calls. And yeah, the change that is now needed is basically to keep the same behavior there that we have today. Yeah, if you haven't looked into it, please just check it out and comment on the execution dev. But I would then assume we go ahead, create the test cases for this new format, and also already included in this new with those new changes in the second devnet.
How much work or time do you think it'll be adding to Devnet 2?
I can't answer that. So from the specs and ERP side, it's done. It very much
Okay.
depends on how much work is it to add new fields to the receipt. I think that's the only thing. I don't really have insights into how much work this is at the clients.
Okay, then I think I'd prefer moving it to Devnet 2. So we do it in the next Devnet and bite the bullet, even if it takes a little bit longer. Does that sound good for everyone?
Move the change or the EIP?
As in the EIP, as well as the change, is included in the scope of Devnet 2. Okay. Thank you. And the next one is approve and merge spec changes for EIP 7708. I see Ben's been digging into this one. Do you want to give us some context, Ben?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this would be any non-zero transfer that's not included in already in a different field of ETH. So for instance, paying gas is already included in the transaction, which is why I said there's a little bit of conflict if we lose that information. Then we emit an ETH transfer log, so that you can build the state of an account just from looking at logs, withdrawals, and transactions without having to. Previously, I think you have to debug trace to work out ETH transfers.
Okay, got it. Has everyone gotten a chance to look at this PR or not yet? Yeah, Spencer?
Yeah, I just I guess linked it in the comment just so I think as the PR spec right now, we're using the 478 address, system address. I guess I just want to confirm that everyone's okay with using that address in the PR. Yeah, and then if that's the case, then I guess we go with it. Also, I think initially this PR included fee receipts and withdrawals as well, not just ETH transfers. So this PR, yeah, it's only for ETH transfers, and I believe Etan moved the fee receipts and withdrawals to a separate PR. Yeah, so if everyone's okay with that, then I guess we can just stick to that as the spec for Devnet 2.
Yeah, Ben.
On the address specifically, an opinion that's not strongly held is I'd prefer the address to be zeros because it's not a the one currently chosen is this is the system, whereas we're talking about ETH, the asset, which the zero address seems more appropriate for. Rather than the system.
I think there's a comment here explaining the three options, right?
Yeah, so zero system address. and EIP 788.
Got it. Has any client team, etc., had a strong opinion over here?
Maybe we stick to system address, and if we want to change it in the future, we can do that. Just for Devnet 2.
Yeah, I think that sounds reasonable. Let's stick to system address then, and we can still discuss on the PR what to do.
Could we have these PRs merged so that could I put emphasis on that, so that
Yes.
we can follow along with what's canonical?
Yeah, sounds good. I'll write that down. Okay. The next point that Spencer brought up was a few EELS PRs for visibility. Is there any PR here worth discussing, Spencer, or are you okay to just flag it in the comment?
No discussion here, just wanted to flag it for visibility, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, that sounds good. And I guess based on the decisions on the call, you guys would just merge in the required PRs and we should be good to go. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. The next topic on the agenda was a Glamsterdam ePBS devnet update. Do we have anything from the CL client teams? How close are we to the devnet? How are things looking? Yeah, Jen?
So just before we move on, can we just reiterate what is the final Devnet 2 scope and when are the timelines and what is missing?
Got it. So for Devnet 2, we're going to be keeping 7843 along with both the changes that are included in Spencer's comment. I'll link the comment in chat here. We're going to be moving the 8024 discussion to later so that it's not being included in Devnet 2 scope and would be included in Devnet 3 scope. 7778 is going to be included along with Tony's changes, so it'll be merged. EIP 7708, we merge in the PR as is, and we still have to discuss the address, and that can be done later and updated in Devnet 3 if required. As for a timeline, Stefan, did you have an idea on when you wanted Devnet 2 up and running?
I think it would be great if we could get all these PRs merged as quickly as possible. I think I will have everything ready to launch Devnet 2 around Wednesday, but I can set the GLOAS fork for a little bit later. So hopefully this week we should be able to launch Devnet 2. It would be good to be ready by Wednesday, Thursday by the latest. That would be very nice. But if clients need more time, it would be great if they could reach out to me.
Okay, sounds good. If clients, the moment you have images ready, then please just ping Stefan and we can already have local devnets. And Lucas has a question for 7708. Does it behave the same as each simulate? I would, Spencer, would you be able to take that question?
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm not sure.
Okay, then we might have to discuss that later, Lucas. I'm not sure if I have the answer either. Okay, next item on the agenda was Glamsterdam ePBS devnet update, and Kurtosis has a comment. Do you want to speak up, Kurtosis, or how do we want to do this?
Oh, it's just that comment. It looks like the spec is finally frozen, at least in what regards to test vectors. Terence has, at least on Prism, opened most of the local processing of blocks. and all of the gossip objects. We are reviewing them. We should merge those PRs in the next 2-3 days. Still, like all of the periphery of the pull request needs to be developed. It will take more time to talk about Kurtosis runs, but at least the processing and the spec tests are going to be passed in the next 2-3 days.
Okay, do we have any other client teams? CL teams, Phil, do you want to go for Lodestar? Or Nico?
I apologize. Can you ask that question? Oh, go ahead, Nico.
Yeah. So we have a few PRs open for fork choice, gossip, changes, and there's still some work to do for Devnet. But yeah, it's looking to get pretty complete now. But yeah, we are still a bit far, I think, for the Devnet itself.
Okay, Dustin, do you want to go for Nimbus?
Sure. So we've had for a while we're up to date on alpha.1 specs with a couple of with the fork choice proposal boost quirk aside, we haven't updated for that, but for all the sort of ePBS, let's say specific things, the otherwise I think we're missing block production. We're missing a couple of other things. Yeah, it's not. We're getting there, but yeah, I would say we're. Well, what was the phrase? We're a bit far. No, I mean, yeah, we're not. We couldn't do it in the next week or so for sure. Yeah.
Okay, Potus?
Yeah, I wanted to reply to a question that Marius has asked about timings. I speak for myself, but I always suspected that the timings on ePBS were only going to be chosen much further down the line when we actually get some testing on more than just a local devnet, but a decentralized one, so that we can actually measure what are the tightest that we can make. In particular, attestation deadline, we would want to make it as soon as possible. There is a PR that Francesco opened to make the payload availability deadline variable depending on the size of the payload, and it seems that that's going to be merged. That PR also adds a new constant, which is what is the minimum time that like a zero size payload should have. And that I think also should be decided after we decide the attestation deadline, the tightest as possible. And then there's the problem of when the PTC deadline would be, that will depend, I think, on the severity of the free option problem and the block count that we hit the target on GLOAS, of course.
Yeah. So for Francesco's PR and the variable PTC deadline, I think that's a much bigger topic and probably more appropriate for ACDC later this week. But yeah, I wanted to continue with Devnet updates. Solius, do you want to go for Grandine?
Okay, so I think we are still missing some stuff, and I actually need to check again with Hanglang what is the very latest status on this on his ePBS implementation. So yeah, as far as I know, we are still missing something.
Okay. Do we have anyone from Teku? Yeah, Enrico?
Yes. So we merged the fork choice change related to the proposal boost change that recently has been updated. We are also passing alpha 01 things testing, and but there are still pending PRs related to gossip rules validations that needs to be updated, and there is still some work to do around storage side. And what else? Give me one sec. But yes, there is still there is an open PR, but should be completed about the non-validating builders change. But yeah, I don't think we are that close to having a Devnet ready client at the moment.
Okay, and what about Lighthouse? Do we have anyone from the Lighthouse team? Okay, if this is the case, then do we want to set a deadline for at least local Kurtosis networks? Because I think at least having a timeline would help us scope the network and start working towards DevNet ready releases. Do we want to aim for the end of the month for at least a Kurtosis network with more than 2 clients? Does that sound achievable? Prism seems to be the farthest ahead. Is that okay? Photos says 11 days is not going to be possible for Prism. What timeline would be reasonable for Prism? Or for the CLs in general?
Yeah, I don't think Prism is the farthest ahead, and also don't know about timelines.
We also don't
Okay.
have an estimate on timelines, but it's a few weeks probably.
Okay. Okay, I think we're definitely gonna have to decide at least scoping or some sort of thing for at least local devnets, because if it's gonna take a month to even have the first local devnet, that's extremely long. Especially because we still have changes coming in and we haven't even started testing. But yeah, I guess we'll parallelly start working on a testing roadmap and see where we can merge the two in.
So I don't know if it's worth bringing up again because I'm not sure how things have been built, but if it's possible where we can break the ePBS scope into pieces. I don't know. Again, I know POTUS, we had talked about this and it's difficult. But if we could do like slot restructuring and then do the some of the other scopes in a second phase, just a thought.
Yeah, maybe we can add this as an agenda item for Thursday's ACDC as well, because I do think ACD is going to have opinions on at least some sort of timeline. But yeah, I agree with Dustin. It might add more complexity than it's worth. So at least we have to discuss it and decide.
It's kind of irrelevant for this, right? So there's no trustless payments on the devnet. There's not even builders. There's not even external builders on the devnet. It's just self-building for the devnet.
Yeah, well, on the devnet, you can have external builders if you want, but yeah.
No, we agreed that.
No, I don't think we should.
We agreed
we
that
don't have
there's
to.
not going to be any external builders. There's not going to be even a P2P broadcast of bits.
Okay. That sounds good as scoping for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily know where to break it. I'm just thinking outside the box of a way in order to try to get it piecemeal. I just don't know from implementation specifics. Like it would be a challenge for us to do it, but I'm just kind of food for thought.
Yeah, I think we might need to also update the specs page with these caveats, but we can do that after the call. Okay, just to summarize the DevNet discussion before we move on to the next topic then, for Glamsterdam, EIP 7843, 7778, 7708 are included in DevNet 2, along with all of the changes proposed. EIP 8024, the EIP is included in the DevNet, just that the changes are not being included in the DevNet as proposed. Just wanted to clarify that because I might have misspoken earlier, but yeah. And for ePBS, we'll update the specs page and TBD on a date, but we should try to have at least a local version of the DevNet up and running so we can start testing. And then the testing teams will get together and start making a testing plan for ePBS. Any open questions for Glamsterdam? Okay. Then I would hand over to Ansgar because he wants to continue the discussion from ACD last week on EIP 8037. You have the floor, Ansgar.
Perfect. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, well, I assume so. Yeah, so basically we more or less finished Glamsterdam scoping on last ACDE. There was one last decision that we wanted to postpone to today. And that specifically is about EIP 8037. So our specific strategy for state growth in Glamsterdam. And just to basically remind people, basically the EIP as it was proposed by the champions on Thursday, basically has two elements to it. One of them is this mechanism that dynamically adjusts the state growth pricing based on the gas limit. So that means that instead of a one-time, probably pretty severe repricing right at the hard fork, it basically just grows together with the gas limit. So if we over time increase the gas limit, there would be the state growth operations would become more expensive over time. So that's the element one, this dynamic pricing, and then the element two is this separate metering for state growth gas, and that specifically was meant to address the issue of contract deployments and the maximum per transaction gas cap. So those are the two elements: the dynamic pricing based on the gas limit and the separate metering for contract to enable large contract deployments. Yeah, and ideally we would then make the decision today on whether to include CFI the EIP in that form or consider alternative forms. I was thinking to start by handing over to Marius to basically give an update of the discussions that were happening over the last few days. Marius, are you on the call? Marius, I do see Marius on the call.
Marius, we cannot hear you. Maybe your microphone is not working.
Okay.
We can hear you now. You can go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, so sorry about that. I over the weekend I wrote an explainer about 8037 and why we think it's the best solution for the network right now in order to increase the gas limit. Yeah, I don't know if the problem with my microphone is because of my microphone or because it's a person sitting in front of the computer. But anyway, yes. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer questions about the EIP. I think we feel very strongly that this is necessary to ship in Glamsterdam. Otherwise, we cannot significantly increase the gas limit with bells and ePBS and the repricings.
Yes, we can go through this. Amizian?
Yeah. So I raised a few questions on Discord. So for me, as it is today, EIP 8037, for me, there is like some kind of regression compared to Fusaka, because with EIP 7825, we have this limit of 16.7 million gas, so we can have multiple transactions per block. And with this EIP, we can have much bigger transaction, especially if it has create create state inside. And so we can go basically up to the whole block with one transaction. So I understand that we are metering separately compute and state creation, state growth, and we still have like for this state growth opcodes, especially for as a store, we still have like this compute part that counts for 16.7 million, but still at the end, before we could have multiple transactions in one block, and today in the future we would have only one transaction. This may be will not the worst case. Actually, I don't know, because we need to maybe to benchmark it. But for me, this is like a big change especially with for block access list in the future. So this is like the main concern I have. My understanding is that we have like this different metering to handle that contract deployment use case with 24 kilobyte. So for that 18 million gas and 18 million gas limit, transaction limit, either on the state, for example, we could imagine another transaction gas limit on the state creation part that would mitigate this issue. So I wonder why we want to, like, we don't want to cap state transactions.
Yes, that's a good point. And this is Ansgar said in the chat, any single transaction action can never be heavier to execute than the 60 million gas limit. This is true. However, it is also true that now a transaction could again, as before Fusaka, consume the entire block and spend most of the block on state creation, and the result would be a single transaction that executes 16 million gas on compute and everything else on state creation. So yes, but still we would be in the 16 million. Still, we would limit this transaction by 60 million gas limit, and this is a very weird corner case where someone is willing to deploy or willing to pay for a lot of gas in order to deploy or in order to create a lot of state. And there's nothing different about this practically than someone right now paying a lot of gas for 5 or 6 transactions to create a lot of state. So we can in theory also think about adding a So basically what this EAP also does is remove the transaction gas limit cap and move it into the EVM. And we can think about reinstating that in order to limit the amount of state creation that a single transaction can do. That would be possible. The problem there would be to what do we limit it? Like we could limit it to 30 million gas, which would allow in the worst case 2 transactions in the current block gas limit. The problem is if we 10x the gas limit again, then we would run into this issue again that we wouldn't be able to deploy big contracts within the 30 million gas limit. So a solution for that would be to also adjust the gas limit, the allowed gas limit per transaction in tandem with the block gas limit. So we could do something like at 60 million gas, you can have a transaction that costs 20 million gas. At 120 million gas block gas limit, you can have transactions that have, I don't know, I cannot compute 40 million gas per transaction. So yes, those can yes, those would be solutions to this problem. But again, I don't really think it's a problem because in the worst case, you will only be able to execute one single transaction, and that will run in exactly 16 megagas. And so the the worst case, this will be significantly better than the worst case compute operations, and so there's no DOS risk attached to it.
Ben?
Yeah, following up on that. It will create weird corner cases, for instance, where I'm buying a token that's new to me, new to my account. That will cause state creation in New Balance. I could be forced out of being included in the next block because all the state has been used up. Whereas somebody who's doing a swap of that same token, but they already have it, therefore there's no additional state cost. They will get included in the block. So there's weird corner cases. Saying that, I'm for it. It does solve problems. So I think in aggregate, it's a net positive EIP.
Yeah, and I mean, from my side, I will say that normally I do think there's like some of these small details that I do feel like would benefit from some further attention just to figure out all these specific edge cases. Normally there would be an argument for delaying the decision a bit more, but in this case we just, we just really need to make the decision. I personally think it would be fine to have an ERP like this in case we end up agreeing that this is the best version of it, to just CFI it now and keep iterating on it. And so then if, say, by a week, 2 weeks from now, the shape it's in is not convincing for people, we can revisit this, potentially have a simpler version. I think that's reasonable. It has a lot of attention right now, a lot of people that keep iterating on it. So I personally think that's fine. So for today, I think my main question is basically whether people currently see the EIP as proposed as the best candidate version, at least, so that we can CFI it, or whether people would basically have a preference for swapping it out today for a simpler version.
Hey, Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Marcus. I just wanted to say that I am actually pro the EIP 8037 as it stands. And I honestly think that there was some questions regarding developer UX. And I just want to say that as long as the tooling just supports this EIP, which shouldn't be that difficult, I don't think it would complicate things any further. Yeah.
Andrew?
Yeah, I think it's fine to CFI this EIP, but I would be cautious about the dynamic pricing. I think it might violate some assumptions of smart contracts, existing ones, and also like the smart contracts devs view or picture. So I would actually I would fix the cost per state byte and instead of linking it to the gas limit. And when we decide to raise the gas limit, we can have a mini hard fork to adjust the cost per state byte.
And just to clarify on that point, so would you prefer to see that change today, or would you in principle be okay with CFIing the EIP today as is and then revisit it, or like over the next week or 2 weeks or so, revisiting this question?
Yeah, it's fine to revisit it later. We can CFI it now, I think.
I don't think we can. I don't think we can do a mini hard fork on gas prices because gas limit, because they're, at the moment at least, they're independent and we don't choose the gas limit. So we can, the validators put up the gas limit and then we go, right, we've got to do a mini hard fork.
Well, there is still coordination, like it's the EF announces a recommended gas limit, so I don't see it as a big problem. We have something like the BPO mini hard forks can be perhaps configurable. Anyway, I think this is something we can reiterate later.
Maria?
Yes, I would add on that point. I think we started to reach out to app developers and the community itself, and I think in the following weeks we'll continue to do that to really understand the potential issues with these dynamic costs. I think if we figure out that there's no issues there, I don't see a reason why not doing it this way, because it seems much cleaner than doing a fork every time we need to increase the gas limits. But so yeah, we'll work on understanding better the issues, and if we find that the majority of the community thinks it's okay, then would that make sense to you, Andrew, to just keep as is?
Yeah, sounds fine. But I mean, it just, of course, as you say, it's very important to clarify it with the smart contract dev community. Yeah.
Great, will do.
Yeah, and then one question that I also posted in chat just now, if you want to leave a comment there or something, like it seems like at least right now we're trending towards a CFI decision, but at the same time also people still have some questions or aspects that really need to be double checked. I think there's been very active discussion already on the Discord. My question would just be, is it sufficient to just say that like in between the next calls we will have async iteration on this, or would people also maybe want to have a breakout call scheduled or something, so it's in addition to the async collaboration? But I guess that can be a separate
Yes.
decision.
I'm happy to have a call. We will definitely iterate over some of the points that have been discussed today internally within the EF, but also we can schedule a call and share our progress and make sure we are answering the right question.
Yeah, then I think for now, then I would say it seems like the decision would be to CFI it. I'd give one more round of opportunity for people to protest. But yeah, otherwise, then I think CFIing it and then making sure that there's good venues, both for just iterating in general, also iterating in a broader scope, and then importantly also like get feedback from app developers on topics like the disruptiveness of this dynamic mechanism, these kind of things. But we can do all of this async. Yeah. So anyone who would be opposed to a CFI today? Okay, then we can CFI 8037, and with that, we really, I think, have a finalized Glamsterdam CFI scope at least. Let's see how many of them will end up making it to SFI, but this is really exciting. Thank you all very much, and thanks, Pari, for letting me take some time today to get this to the finish line. Awesome.
So, thank you. I wanted to maybe continue quickly with the last one or two items. Bharat, do you want to introduce what you're doing? I don't think we have to go into too much detail, but maybe it's useful context for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. I can keep it short. Just the idea is like with ePBS, we had conversations on trying to like deprecate the MEF-boost sidecar. So the main question that I wanted to bring up in this call is what is the temperature check on that? What clients feel? Do they? Because I understand that ePBS, the Glamsterdam fork definitely is quite complex, and will clients be able to prioritize this? And secondly, if we absorb most of MEF-boost functionality into clients, I just want to, there might be some value in specifying some aspects of it in the builder specs or in the consensus specs, but I think it's better to be in the builder specs. There is some sense of like, okay, like for example, like how how a client receives a list of builders, right? Like in the sense, builders or relays, I'm using them as interchangeable for now. Like, and what are the parameters you pass? Like, okay, like each builder has their min bid, has their like has the bid boost and etc. parameters like that. And I generally see some value in standardizing that amongst clients and bringing into a specification. And I assume most of it will just be implementation details like querying bits in parallel and stuff like that. But yeah, these are the main questions I had. Number one is like, what is the temperature check on deprecating, not absorbing MEF boost into clients for Glamsterdam? Secondly, how much of it do we want to specify? I guess the how much of it do we want to specify in the spec? We can take it offline, but I was just curious to understand what client teams are thinking about bringing in MEF boost functionality into absorbing that into clients for Glamsterdam.
Yeah, do CL teams want to talk to that?
Yeah, I think Dustin raised it like is this really a spec thing? Yeah, I agree. Like a majority of thing, I think it would be an implementation thing. But I was just wondering, like, is there some aspects we'd want to like standardize amongst clients? But outside that, yeah.
Yeah. Portals?
Yes, this has been discussed extensively for over a year, and I think it's pretty clear that the Builder API will have to be implemented on CL clients. We already have some ideas of what has to be signed, to whom it has to be signed. This is most of the contacting builders to get a bid. And I think we were very clear from the start that CL clients themselves, vanilla CL clients themselves, should have this functionality to be able to contact the builder directly, which is one of the functionalities of MEF Boost. MEF Boost does other things, like, for example, exchanging a blinded payload that was signed, and this will not be implemented by clients. At least this will not be implemented by Prism. And I think this was also very clear from early on. So this thing of like contacting directly builders is something that, yes, is expected to be part of the builder API and it should be specified.
Just to clarify on one thing, when you mentioned that MevBoost also does blind signing, yes, it does do blind signing today, but with ePBS, we hardly will not have blind signing unless if in some future we have an unstaked builder API. But just to clarify, that's what you mean, right? When you talk about blind signing. Because with ePBS, I don't see where we're going to have blind signing. Yeah, okay, sounds good.
POTUS, when you talk, oh, sorry, yeah.
Go ahead, Dustin. Sorry.
Oh, question for POTUS. When you kept talking about builders, do you mean ePBS type quote unquote builders, or do you mean builders in a flu and before builder API context?
The CL client cannot distinguish from them, right? So if you contact a URL and that URL gives you a signed bid from a builder, the CL doesn't really care. It trusts that endpoint.
Sure.
The endpoint returns a signed bid. As long as that interaction happens, that's fine. That endpoint could be a relay that grabs bids from other builders, and we don't care about that. So that part, of course, has to be implemented by CL clients, and we do have more or less a complete specification already set up.
Right, but I guess I'm mostly confused, and I'm confused in the sense of there's what this current proposal, I mean, without getting too deep into the technical details, it's both lacking things that if you really want to absorb all of what, especially talk about like what commit boost does, or like if you want to absorb all of that functionality, it's lacking a lot of sort of specification related to that. Whether it's a good idea is a different question. At the same time, like the builder API to talking with MevBoost uses the builder API. MevBoost both speaks the builder API to the relays and also is spoken to by the builder API by CLs. That exists today. That is a status quo right now for every CL. So every CL that supports Mev right now already supports the builder API. And if you're saying there's no difference between there's the builders and relays because of course they can't tell the difference. But at that point, what is actually being proposed here? Is it a standard for how to specify the multiplexing? Because that is it. That is the one. I mean, ePBS adds the not blinded part, but okay. But in terms of structurally speaking, the one and only thing different here is specifying the multiplexing, and that's where my skepticism is of saying, well, look, that's to me just an implementation thing. And this was the same critique made of, I mean, that doesn't mean we can't specify it at some level, but it's the same critique made by a couple of the EIPs this cycle on the EL side as well. The Max Blobs, right, has this very much simpler idea, much simpler thing, but that's not really spec exactly. I mean, that's a separate argument. This is not the time or place to get into it, but that's sort of this critique that was made of it, and that's the same critique I would make here, is that if you have it's a per client UX thing, right? And that's I would want to be a lot of clarity about what exactly is this proposal getting us.
Yeah, Enrico, and I think we have to end after that.
Yeah, just a quick comment. So we tend to try to have the complexity of clients lower. So if we have something like this kind of multiplexing complexity that could be off client and having some intermediate software that can does that, we see the benefit of that because we can lower down all the complexity. But I think like the point here was to support only the in protocol builder flow or the kind of blind signing flow that is kind of trying to do the completely off protocol bidding going through. And I don't know if Barth was was referring to that or not, but I agree with Potus that the current thing that clients needs to be implemented is essentially what we have now in terms of builder flow, removing completely the blinded thing that is just less complexity anyway. So
yeah, Bharat, would you be able to create maybe a thread on consensus dev, and then you can continue the temp check there?
Yeah, we have a thread in the. I raised it in Payload Builders, the channel. I can just like.
Okay, perfect.
I'll forward that and like we can take the discussion there. But yeah, I have my thoughts. Like we can talk.
Sounds good. And I don't think we're going to be able to get to it, but flagging it for async discussion. There's a PR 4817 that Portos and Justin wanted to discuss. We don't have time on the call, but maybe you guys can bring it up on the CL dev consensus dev chat as well. Okay, then that's it for today. Thanks everyone for coming, and sorry for going over.
Thanks all. Bye-bye.